All right. Boom, 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 boom. What's everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This isn't the Muppet Show. This is the Oversharon Show, the best darn show on the internet. And we never know when YouTube's going to start. It doesn't matter when I hit the go live button. They sometimes the feed starts a few seconds after. Sometimes it goes live. What we were just saying, which we can't have
Exactly.
on the air. We can't let everybody know our secrets. So I figured I'd just sing the Muppet Show theme and we bring it in. What's going on, Sharon? How you doing?
It's funny because when I heard it right now, I forgot to lower my volume on my iPad where I have a live going. And then so I could hear you. It was thankfully it wasn't like all the way down, all the way up, but I could hear you sing da 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 da. It started actually when you hit the button, I guess, this
Oh,
time.
no,
So
because that
who
I started
knows?
singing for a minute before, like a couple seconds, then hit the button. So
Oh, so it did do what we think it
yeah,
does.
I
It
guess I got the
catches it.
timing right though.
You did.
We won today, YouTube. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? We are live. We're really excited. We just had three guests in a row, which if you haven't seen those episodes, definitely go check them out. A lot of fun. We had Topher back on, and we have a lot of good feedback. That's what I was going to tell you. I don't know if you know, but there's a ton of comments under our last three videos. Some good
Oh,
ones. I only
I
had to
didn't go
erase like
check.
one, I think. Allegedly, I don't
Is
know.
that the one you told me about, or was it was it one that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
told
yeah.
me?
The one I
Okay,
sent you didn't even
okay.
really make sense. I don't know. Anyway, but thank you for watching the show, whoever you were. Yeah, so we had Topher on, we had Owen on, Bootsy Green, and we also had Nick on, which out the wise, aka he is, and he's gonna allegedly be returning soon, maybe too. So look
Could
for that.
be.
They're all really good episodes. But we're continuing our series on the Tao Te Ching. We're going to cover verses 25 and 26. Very excited about that today. And so before we get into that, though, let me get into the quote before we get too far. Today's quote: the sooner one develops compassion on this journey, the better. Compassion lets us appreciate that each individual is doing what he or she must do, and that there is no reason to judge another person or oneself. You merely do what you can to further your own awakening. And that is by Ram Dass.
The
What an
dearest
amazing
Ram Dass.
quote.
I have been listening to
I'm going to
another.
keep it up for a minute, but go ahead.
Okay, I've been listening to a little bit of Experiments in Truth, which is another Ram Dass Audible. I say Audible because it's not exactly an audio book. They were lectures that were posted. Um, I guess they were recorded when he was doing these travels, and now they put them all together and they're in an audible format. So I've been listening to Experiments in Truth, and it's just mind blowing. It's crazy how synchronistic things happen because I will open a book where I left off, unread for months, weeks. And when I open it and read a portion, it was just like meant to be because it's so synchronistic to what I'm either going through, what I've been thinking about. Um, and it's been happening with that book, Experiments in Truth. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, that's a really great. Here, I'll stop it right now. Okay, cool. Everyone gets it. Yeah, I love that lecture series. It was at this convention or whatever it's called. It was called Naropa, and they used
Yes.
to do it right in the
That's the other
60s.
book we have on Audible.
Yeah, and a lot of these the experiments in truth, a lot of them were from his talks that he did about the Bhagavad Gita at Naropa. And it's funny because he does mention different belief systems in there, and I love when he's like, this is a class on Hinduism given by a Buddhist who, at a Catholic something who's like a Jew or whatever. It's like
I
all
know.
these.
I remember that. That's so funny. I
Yeah.
love it. Which goes to show you all these ancient views have wisdom and truth in them. So you don't have to tie yourself down to one belief system and the set of rules because, could it be you're forming an attachment to that? And wouldn't it be more freeing to be able to view every belief system and wisdom from different ancient texts? Wouldn't it be easier and more freeing to just read those and take and glean from those what resonates for you? I mean,
Yeah,
I
it is
love
for
I
me.
love this path. I love that I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it really takes like a set of keys. You need this a lot of times, we talk about symbolism a lot in the show and in tarot cards or any kind of symbolism. When you see keys, sometimes they represent a certain knowledge, and it could be the key to this knowledge. So once you get this kind of like, I guess, hermetic is a good way to get this education. You don't have to just do the whatever. Like I think you could even get it through masonry and stuff, all this stuff that's like considered a cult. When you just get to learn what the symbolism means, and then really what about allegory and how that works and how the words have different meanings, especially like the word snake. It's like, wait, what? And
Mm-hmm.
I think once that you gain that knowledge, you could just read any kind of, I mean, even, I get stuff. I've been watching TV again, which is really crazy because I stopped for a long time. And in the evenings, my woman and I will watch a show, a couple shows or whatever. So it's not like I'm watching a bunch or whatever, but I've
And even if
noticed,
you were, who cares? It's your life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, TV rots your brain, right? But uh, what I was thinking is like all these things I've been watching, there's hidden layers and messages, and I don't even know if like the director or the writer put them in there. I'm sure that some of them to a certain degree are planted in there, but there's a lot of messages spoken. And I used to watch a TV show and you'd get like the detective and then there's like a murder, right? And then they're trying to solve it. I'm watching this show True Detective. It's on HBO, and I saw season one with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. I think was in it years ago though when it was out, and it was pretty good. So we've been watching this, and I'm starting to realize that a lot of times characters I used to think were the good guys, are just obsessed, like some of these law enforcement agents or whatever, and they kind of destroy their whole family in the process of trying to catch this killer or whatever, or find a missing person or whatever.
Mm.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I never really noticed that before. I kind of was just like, oh yeah, it goes with the job. Cops, they have rough lives. But I'm starting to see the obsessive compulsive stuff. And especially because of all this behavior we talk about, especially, the last episode with Nick and other episodes we've talked about, it's really starting to come to light. So I'm getting an extra kind of viewing, I guess, looking at it from a different angle. So I'm getting a lot more out of it. And I'm just like, yeah, this guy like wrecked his whole life. I remember there's this movie that I saw called I'll make this quick, I promise everybody. I'm just oversharing. It's called
I have
Fallen.
things to say too.
Oh,
I'm just
good.
kidding.
There's I got some things to say. There's this movie Fallen with Denzel Washington, and it's about this demon. His name is Azazel, and he can go from person to person through touch. And Denzel Washington is this cop who tries to figure out who he is and tries to stop him. And I was thinking to myself, like, Denzel has this crazy life. I might have talked about this before, but like he's like ignoring his kid and all this other stuff just to try to catch the serial killer and then stop this demon. And I'm like, maybe you should think to yourself, why would I try to go up against a demon? You know what I mean? Like, am I ready for that? Like, am I the one who's supposed to save the world and conquer this demon? Because spoiler alert, the end of the movie, I won't say much because it's good. You should watch it if you're interested, everybody. But it wasn't really, I guess, a happy ending for Denzel Washington. But anyway, so I think that there's so much of this that we miss in media because we're always taught about like black and white, right? Good and evil. And it goes back to our discussion with like organized religion, right? And these rules that they set down, like this is good and this is bad. But I feel like when you use critical thinking, there's a whole nother story that opens.
It's a total sync as usual. You talking about these shows you're watching about people who ruin their lives with their families just to be
Yeah.
this detective, this savior, this investigator. And I won't give away too much, or much at all. But if you want to see a story of that, watch The Last Narc on Amazon Prime. It's 4 episodes. It's a true story. It's like a docu-series, 4 episodes of the story of Kiki Camarena, who was with our government, and he was sent to Mexico to do all these well, actually, I don't even know if he was sent to don't quote me. Anyway, he was part of this whole Mexican drug cartel kind of thing going on. And he was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered. And this is the investigation into that by someone who knew him, someone who was close to him.
Oh,
And the guy who basically was the investigator of it all, he ended up realizing what you just said. Like, I didn't get to spend time with my kids, and now what, type of thing. But he's still alive, and I think, and at this point he's like, I had to get this all off my chest, and if they kill me, they kill me. It's very, very, very interesting
yeah, I
story.
can imagine.
I wouldn't have watched it, but Cody really wanted to see it, so
Oh, that's cool.
it was very interesting. But it
Sounds interesting.
has some dark moments in it.
Oh, I can imagine. I watched that show Narcos back in the day. It's pretty good about Pablo. I'm sure it wasn't exactly true, but it showed
Yeah,
a whole new angle that was pretty cool.
I
That's
almost watched it, but I never did.
oh yeah, yeah. That's the thing too. There's so much gratuitous violence and a lot of like, just craziness. Like they just killed this pedophile, and I'm thinking, and I said it to Elizabeth, I'm like, they did that. Like they beat up this pedophile, and then they just I forgot what they did with him, but they thought he was their killer, but he wasn't. But they found out he was a pedophile, and then they found out he got out and he was like working at a nursery school now. So they like took him around back a little bit, and I'm like, everyone that's watching this is like rage porn for them. They're like, yeah, get that guy. I'm like, I'm not sticking up for him at all, but I'm just saying like how clever of them to put that in to their show. Like anyway, it was like a side quest. It reminded me of I've also noticed a lot of these shows play like video games, kind of. I think that I don't know if video games started to because I played the last one I ever played was Grand Theft Auto 5, I think. The last Grand Theft Auto 4, maybe, whatever it was. But there was all these side quests, and it reminds me a lot of these shows. It's crazy how it's all the same. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about, because that reminded me, Christmas just passed and I was at my parents' house and they reminded me of this lady and then they were telling me stories. You're gonna love this, Sharon. Maybe we should do or somebody should do a documentary about this lady because I totally forgot about her. She's called the Chicken Lady. And I know about her because on my bus route, we would drive near the beach, and on the left was the dump and on the right was like a bunch of marshland and then the beach. But there was this trailer, a couple of trailers out there in chicken coops, and we would drive by. We always called her the Chicken Lady. Well, what happened was that all used to be neighborhoods, and they were kind of low income neighborhoods. So the city sold that area right next to the beach to the state. They came in and eminent domained all those people, but a lot of the people, they gave them a little more money than it was worth, I guess, and they were kind of like poor people anyway, so they took it. But this one lady refused, her and her husband, and her husband died. And then one day when she was at work, they demolished her house. Her and her sister were both in there working like opposite shifts at this place. And then one day her sister had to leave or whatever, and then she left, and they demolished her house. So she immediately, people got together, banded together. They put a trailer there. She lived there without electricity and plumbing until the day she died, which was like, this happened in the mid to late 70s, early 80s. And then she lived there till like the late 90s or maybe early 2000s. Crazy,
That's
huh?
Yeah.
and she had guns. Like that's why they wouldn't go there. She
That
had
is
guns and people hanging out,
hilarious.
like bikers hanging out, like
I
some tough
just
dudes.
I just posted a quote in our chat. Um, I'm just gonna read it. It's by Paulo Coelho. It says, "Love everybody, but never sell your sword."
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's what she did, man. And there's still people around that remember her. So I think it would be that I would watch that documentary
Wow,
about a lady that was just like, fuck you, government. Just
that's
kidding, you two.
nice.
We love you and the government. You guys are great.
I mean, yeah, we appreciate you.
Yeah, yeah. So the chicken lady, we appreciate you. I forget her name, Dolores Gagne, maybe it was. I gotta look it up, but it's all on Google. You can look it up the whole thing. So yeah.
Well,
Milford, Connecticut, everybody. If you want to look it up, Milford, Connecticut. I bet if you just look chicken lady, it'll probably come up. And the people who watch this show know how to Google after what I said. So yeah, very interesting story. We should tell Adam about that. He probably will love that one. So
that is
anyway,
very interesting.
you have to pull a card. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Were you
I
something?
do.
Go
But I
ahead.
was just gonna say it's funny because we've been talking about documentaries of people we're watching, whatever. This one's not necessarily um like that, but it was interesting because Cody knew about it, and it's called The Winnebago Man, I think. It's a story of this man, Jack Rebney, whose video went viral before YouTube.
Ooh.
It was like people taking VHS and making copies of like an outtakes of his um this like little thing that he was doing for Winnebago, and he was talking about, he was talking about all the features and doing all these things, but he was just so angry at himself for like messing things up, or like not being able to read the words, and like, what am I thinking? And like, so he was constantly cursing and getting mad at, himself and the people around him and the flies that were flying around. It was just, and someone decided that somebody needed to know who this man was, because everybody, you know, who watched this video loved it, and like they loved him. And so he set out to find out who this man was. And the documentary is actually pretty good.
Oh, that sounds hilarious. I could
Yeah.
see that, especially in that time frame. People are like, you got to see this guy freaking out. It's so funny. And then everyone's just dubbing it off of their own.
Yeah. Gordy apparently has seen Winnebago Man.
Oh, nice. What's up, Gordy? Oh, I wasn't even looking at the chat. Speedy
Yeah.
Lee, what is going on? Zeralath,
Yes.
how are you? Welcome, Robo Honky. Welcome. Still our favorite YouTube name.
Lucachina,
Yeah.
Dissident Jones.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even see them.
Yeah.
What's
So
up,
I
Dissident?
pulled a card from
All
the I
right.
Ching. It is number 17. It's called Following. Although I almost thought it said flowing, because you can see when the picture I'll show you, but it says lake above, thunder below. Let's see.
All right.
Hold
You're
on. Let me
pinned,
see if that
by the
any.
way. Ooh, little waterfall coming out of the sky.
And doesn't it look like flowing? So following or flowing, maybe those words are related somehow.
Yeah.
Um, I'll just read the little intro to that, and then we will get started with our Tao. Speaking of the Tao, I said today to myself, it's Tao Day. And I'm like, oh, Tao Te Ching, Tao Day, Tao Day. That's funny. All right. Following number 17, lake above, thunder below. Choosing to follow good influences brings supreme success. You may not be able to judge the direction of the wind, but by frequently adjusting your sails, you can arrive at your destination with a joy that inspires others to follow. Those who wish to acquire a following must speak the language of their followers. Those who wish to be loved must become the imagined lover of their beloved. Those who wish to prosper must bend with the pressure of the world. In matters of principle, stand firm. In matters of style and taste, swim with the current. If guile or self-aggrandizement enters the equation, resistance will be what follows. Focus on the common good in order to remain unharmed. I mean, I just thought of that lady you talked about, the chicken lady.
Yeah.
I mean, there could have been probably other ways for her to have navigated that, but everything's for a purpose. In the affairs of humanity, change is constant. Old ideas are discarded in favor of new ones. A great leader can emerge only by being adaptable to the demands of the times. Similarly, only by adjusting to changing circumstances can one prosper in the world of commerce. Interesting. Remain flexible, and you will gain the confidence of those around you. Bend, and you will not break. Balance activity with some relaxation to serve the situation well and to maintain a state of healthy energy, minimizing both internal and external resistance to your goals.
Nice.
Yeah. Kind of synced a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that's a great deck.
Yeah.
We just found this actually Elizabeth as a gift got a mushroom tarot deck. I believe it was from her mother, and we were reading in it. It was really good. The book was like top notch. So
Nice.
I'll have to use it next time.
I recently got a new deck too.
Oh yeah, how's that?
Well, I have not shuffled it or pulled anything from it, but I will show you what it looks like. It's called Tarot of the Divine. And it's like a lot of different cultural I guess people it says Tarot of the Divine brings traditional tarot archetypes to life with a lustrous series of fables, including the Little Mermaid, Aladdin, the Crane Wife, Sleeping Beauty, King Arthur, and the stories of many lesser-known legends and deities from all over the world. Just as the tarot provides ways to interpret the world around us, so too do these illuminating folk tales. Oops, sorry. There you go. So
that's cool.
Yeah. It looks like it's going to be a cool deck.
Nice. It's perfect for your Asian heritage.
I know. I mean,
just kidding,
probably the most original.
Yeah. OG Asian.
Even though like Ancestry.com won't admit that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too far back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to be talking again about the Tao today. So excited to get back into it. So without any further ado, I'll bring it right up on our screen. Here it is. Verse 25. All right. So, as always, if you haven't been following along and this is your first time watching our show about the Tao, thank you, welcome. And there's actually a whole playlist, so you can go back to the beginning and watch this. We're going through the entire Tao Te Ching. We have 4 different versions. We read each version, then we kind of break it down. So the first version we're going to be talking about today is the Stephen Mitchell version from 1988. And verse 25 is, there was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present. It is the mother of the universe. For lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. It flows through all things, inside and outside, and returns to the origin of all things. The Tao is great. The universe is great. Earth is great. Man is great. There are 4 great powers. Man follows the earth.
These are the 4.
Oh, yeah. These are the 4 great powers. Man follows the earth. Earth follows the universe. The universe follows the Tao. The Tao follows only itself.
Well, I will read the Dwight Goddard version from 1919, and he entitles this Describing the Mysterious. There is being that is all-inclusive and that existed before heaven and earth, calm indeed and incorporeal. It is alone and changeless. Everywhere it functions unhindered. It thereby becomes the world's mother. I do not know its nature. If you try to characterize it, I will call it Tao. Oh, sorry. If I did I say that? If I try to characterize it, I will call it Tao.
Hmm.
If forced to give it a name, I will call it the great. The great is evasive. The evasive is the distant. The distant is ever coming near. Tao is great, so is heaven great, and so is earth, and so also is the representative of heaven and earth. Man is derived from nature. Nature is derived from heaven. Heaven is derived from Tao. Tao is self-derived. Very cool.
Nice. All right. And now I'm going to read the Stan Rosenthal version from 1984. The creative principle of Tao. Excuse me, of Tao. The creative principle unifies the inner and external worlds. It does not depend on space or time. It is ever still and yet in motion. Thereby, it creates all things, and is therefore called the creative and the absolute. Its ebb and its flow extend to infinity. We describe the Tao as being great. We describe the universe as great. Nature, too, we describe as great, and man himself is great. Man's laws should follow natural laws, just as nature gives rise to physical laws, whilst following from the universal law, which follows the Tao.
I really like that
Yeah.
natural law stuff.
Mm.
Um, all right. I will read Aleister Crowley, and I will just say that this verse so far seems to be very kind of unified in the way they translate. It's very similar. So, all right. Aleister Crowley. Images of the mystery. Without limit and perfect, there is a becoming beyond heaven and earth. It hath nor motion nor form. It is alone. It changeth not. It extendeth always. It hath no adversary. It is like the All Mother. I know not its name, but I call it the Tao. And I will say this is very poetic and esoteric, as usual. Moreover, I exert myself and call it vastness. Vastness, the becoming. Becoming, it flieth afar. Afar, it draweth near. Vast is this Tao. Heaven also is vast. Earth is vast, and the Holy King is vast also. In the universe are four vastnesses, and of these is the Holy King. Man followeth the formula of earth, earth followeth that of heaven, and heaven that of the Tao. The formula of the Tao is its own nature. I love that. Even though we're gonna have to really deep dive on that one.
All right, there we go. I was muted. I had to blow my nose. Yeah, I
Oh,
like
fine.
that. I like that one part. Well, I mean, sure, we'll get to it when we break it down, but I want to say it now so I don't forget. It's like vast is this Tao. It sounds like something that Yoda would say. You know, vast,
Yes.
vast is this Tao.
Was Yoda like Asian or something?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe you're just racist. Well, you're Asian, so it doesn't matter. Huh?
I
I
can say it. I'm just kidding.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, maybe he was meant to look Asian. He's probably because he was meant to look like an old master, you know. So I'm sure there's definitely some of that.
And also makes me think of I don't know if you ever watched Kung Fu Panda, but
Oh yeah,
Master Shifu,
oh
the
yeah,
little red panda.
I could see that.
Kind of made that's probably why I associated it with Asian because of that.
All right, we'll let it stand. Okay, so let's go back and break it down. Yeah, no, I like this verse. So we have scroll back up. So we'll read.
You want to read the first one and then say the last two for together?
Yeah, we could do it that way. Sounds good.
Okay.
There was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is sincere,
Serene.
serene. It is serene. Sometimes I just give up halfway through. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what that is. Empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present. It is the mother of the universe. For lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. So I feel like this verse is just kind of explaining what the Tao is. Um,
It
and
reminded me of like the first verse too.
yeah,
Cannot
yeah,
be explained. It's nameless, you know.
yeah. I think they kind of laid down some of the law a little bit, and then they're kind of repeating a little,
Oh yeah.
trying to get you to really wrap your head around it after going through the first 24 verses.
Yeah,
Um,
repetition is a way of learning.
and they're just basically throwing a bunch of adjectives at you because you can only really kind of describe it. You can't point to
Mhm.
right exactly what it is.
Exactly.
But I guess you can read the next one because, and then we can start comparing them because I feel like
Yeah,
in, good
I
parallels
concur.
there.
All right, so Dwight Goddard describing the mysterious. There is being that is all inclusive and that existed before heaven and earth. Calm indeed and incorporeal. It is alone and changeless. Everywhere it functions unhindered, it thereby becomes the world's mother. I do not know its nature. If I try to characterize it, I will call it Tao. I love that, a being that is all inclusive, that existed before heaven and earth. That is the creative, the creator, you know. It is the all. And in one of the other verses we heard it called the all mother, right? Um and it's funny how, you know, I just popped in my head that, you know, a lot of people say all father and they call God as a masculine thing, right? But this is pointing to like it also being a feminine thing, a feminine energy, because the creative is the feminine. Men and women are born from women. Um, so the all mother is that creative principle. It gave birth to heaven and earth. It was before everything.
Yeah, and if you look at just the creative force of life in general, I feel like it there is one force, but then it could be cut into two, a masculine and a feminine, and then you can even take those two and cut them further into a masculine and feminine, and you know you could just keep going,
Yeah.
infinite, infinity. Everybody, it's my new word. I'm gonna live in infinity. No, so I think that it is cool that they're not ascribing a person to any of this, like a lot of religions will do. Even when they say the all, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of is pointing toward some kind of, I was going to say
Being
consciousness, but I don't know if that's the right thing. Yeah, like a being, right? Where this is more like it's just
a
uh,
principle, maybe.
a principle or just a function, just something that is, you know, it's
Yeah.
just, and it was around before everything else.
Mhm.
Uh,
Wow, I'm glad you said that. That really makes sense.
right? Like it's not even a conscious, it could be consciousness, but it's not really, it could, maybe it's not conscious and it's not sitting up like on a cloud somewhere looking over us.
Right.
It's just a process.
Right.
Oh,
And
how
this might, you know, some people get a little bit triggered, but
dare you.
like in the last several months, or even, yeah, I would say in the last several months to a year, approximately, when people would say, because I always pass everything through my logic and my mind and my filter, and when people would say like, oh, like it's obvious there's a God, it's obvious there's a creator, and it was kind of almost like, if you don't even believe in a creator, if you're atheist, how dare you type, right? And in my head, I'm like, well, why judge people that think and see that way, you know? Um, and why does there have to be? a being who is this quote creator. Like, what if it's different than that? Like, why do we have to assume that that's what it is? And just because someone says it, then everyone has to believe that that's how it is. So what you just said right now, to me, it makes sense because, again, as the Tao says, this Tao is nameless. It is indescribable. Even the Bible talks about, how you can't bucketize God. You cannot put God in a bucket and say, this is what God is. Like, you can say what it's not, maybe, but you can't like break it down into this one being that's like, oh, this is God and he looks down upon you and he's this XYZ and he's the creator. It's like, what if it's not that? What if there are other ways to explain it? So anyway, that was me kind of ruffling feathers.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I could see why people might think that because it's a much safer circumstance, right? If that was the circumstance and there was a creator looking out over us, it's like you could kind of defer some of your worries or whatever to that being or some of your troubles.
And
But
that's okay because that's a path, right? We're all kind
oh
of
yeah,
inching
yeah.
our way toward more understanding of what God really is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
go
I'm
ahead.
trying to I'm just bringing like a little empathy, I guess, in her
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
can
No, I get
understand
it.
that.
And I'm not
Yeah.
being non-empathetic, but
Those
non-compassionate.
people, how dare them? No,
Yeah. I just always try to process things and ask questions.
how dare them? You're like, no, Brandon, it's how dare they?
Exactly.
Um, yeah, no, so I feel like the way that I look at it is even the Tao, because it says you can't point to what it is, it's not exactly telling you because it really is a mystery. And I feel like, and I know I've said this a million times, but if you could just accept the mystery of it all and you'll just say you'll never know, maybe after you die, you'll know, but in this incarnation, right, in this life, we're never gonna know. Well, maybe one
Exactly.
day, right? But
Like, we're
we
not
know
going to
right
know
now.
exactly everything. How
Yeah.
could we?
And I think just accepting it as a beautiful mystery. And it's funny because there is so much of that. Like I know in the Catholic religion because I went to Catholic school and church forever, and they would talk about the mystery, right? Like
Yeah, I would always hear that too, even in the church I went to. So were you done? I wasn't
yeah, I
trying
was
to
just gonna say
interrupt you.
they just don't explain how to embrace the mystery, I guess you could say. I mean, it's in the Bible, it's there, but anywho,
It's deep esoteric knowledge that has to come from introspection. Like, you
yeah,
can't
and inner
just,
knowing, yeah.
yeah. So speaking of that, it's kind of synced. And I wanted to read this earlier when we were talking, but then it just didn't lend itself to that. But as you brought it up just now, I'm reading this book. It's in that it's the Don Miguel Reese Toltec type of stuff, but it's from one of his sons. It's called Wisdom of the Shamans. And there's a little chapter or section called Silent Knowledge. I'm just going to read a few sentences. In the Toltec tradition, we have a concept called silent knowledge, and cultivating your connection to it can help you find the truth within yourself. Silent knowledge is a knowing that is beyond the thinking mind. It is difficult to write or talk about because language is the main tool of the mind, but I will do my best to explain. Silent knowledge is the deep, innate wisdom that is in all things. It comes from the interconnectedness of all beings and creatures. It is the wisdom of the universe. I can read an example, I'll just keep reading a little bit. For instance, if you've ever simply known the answer to a question without any logical way that your brain could have discovered it, like when a mother can feel that her child is in danger, or when you know the moment a relative transitions into death, this is all silent knowledge. It is the universal wisdom that has always been at our fingertips, but that we often neglect to tap into, either because we don't know or have forgotten how. Anyway, I read that this morning, and I was just like, wow, that's
Yeah,
insane.
that's great. It's so true. You can even call that intuition. This inner knowing. We call it intuition, right? But we don't
Yeah.
know, it's not the intuition, is that's just a name that we give it, right? It's
Yeah.
a
And
feeling that we
some people might say it is your higher self talking to you. And some people might say it's the big I. It's the deep divine wisdom coming through. I don't know. We
the
can't
Akashic
describe it.
record,
There's so many ways.
right? With
Zaralath,
Edgar Casey,
huh?
I was watching that thing that you sent me about Edgar Casey and the Akashic record.
Oh, did you watch it? Did you hear it? I didn't finish it. I want to
No,
finish it.
about half of it, I think.
Okay. This is something you wanted to say about it?
No, I was just saying that's what it reminds me of. It's like when you're in tune with this Akashic record. That's what some
Mm.
people would call it.
Yes.
What were you going
Yes.
to say about Zerlath?
He says about Yoda, yes, his speech pattern is specifically Japanese. I didn't know that.
Oh,
I
so I'm
didn't
the
know
one who's
that.
racist, not Sharon. Haha.
Who is?
I said I am, not Sharon.
Oh,
Or I set that one up. Thanks, Sarah Lath, for the setup. That was a good one.
yeah. So, yeah,
Interesting.
that was some commentary on the first part of verse 25. Uh Dwight
All right.
Goddard, Stephen Mitchell. Did you have anything else on
No,
that?
I think we could read the next. I could read the next.
Okay.
All right. So Stan Rosenthal entitling his verse The Creative Principle of Tao. The creative principle unifies the inner and external worlds. Excuse me. It does not depend on time or space, is ever still and yet in motion. Thereby it creates all things, and is therefore called the creative and the absolute. Its ebb and its flow extend to infinity and
Wow.
beyond.
Yes.
I like this because you get more of this. Why do I always forget the word for it? The
Airy.
No, you get the opposites, the conundrum, or
Oh,
like
yes. Yes.
it is ever still and yet in motion.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Uh,
That's to me, that's the yes and no.
yes, yep, yep.
It's when you answer somebody, when someone says, but why this? Or what is this? Is it this? And you say, yes, but also no.
Yeah.
Or no, but also yes.
It's both damn.
I do that all the time.
It's like it's both ours. We'll just keep it at my house. That's a reference to the movie Friday.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
Those who know will know. It's about a bike and a couple black guys.
Oh my gosh. The paradox, Amberson says.
Ah, yes, paradox. Thank you, Amberson. Thank you. And thank you for your lovely comment on one of our Dow episodes. I think it was episode 84 he commented on just recently today. Thank you so
She,
much.
she.
She.
Amberson, she,
Oh, yes, she.
yes.
He,
Yeah,
it's
well,
it's all one
whatever.
energy,
Maybe
and we're just
Amberson was a man in a previous lifetime.
there you
We don't
go.
know
It's all one energy, right?
exactly.
All right. You could read the next one, the Aleister Crowley.
Okay. Um, Images of the mystery. Without limit and perfect, there is a becoming beyond heaven and earth. That in itself, I just kind of want to kind
Yeah.
of take my time on here. Without limit and perfect. He doesn't say perfection. Why not? He says without limit. Oh, because it is without limit and it is perfect. I get it.
Oh, good. I'm glad you broke that down.
Without limit and being perfect, perhaps. There is a becoming. I love that because this is the journey we're on. We be, I am, we are becoming. It's about the journey, right? Yeah, we know that there is a destination, but it's about the present moment, being present. Wow, I love that. And I
Yeah,
didn't even
because you
finish
never
reading.
know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Wow, this is blowing my mind right now. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and
Good
Alistair,
job, Aleister Crowley.
this guy definitely got it to this
It,
degree.
huh?
I said because I was like Aleister Crowley, like definitely got it, like he gets it, and then I was like
Yeah.
to this degree anyway with this thing.
Yeah. At this, yeah, for this. Maybe for other things he didn't. We don't know. All right.
maybe people
Maybe
get a
he
little
really
crazy.
did. He was, maybe he was just trolling everybody, as we
Yeah,
say. All right. So it hath nor motion nor form. I think he probably meant, or maybe it's a typo. I don't know. I would say it hath not motion nor form, or maybe it hath, yeah, I would say it hath not motion nor form. That's probably, maybe it's a typo. It is alone, it changeth not. It extendeth always, it hath no adversary. It is like the All Mother, which we talked about earlier. I know not its name, but I call it the Tao. All right, so he says it is like the All Mother. He doesn't say it is the All Mother. So that's
yeah.
cool too, because he's not saying, hey guys, this is the All Mother. It is like the All Mother.
I also like how three of these verses say I call it Tao,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah, I call it the
it's
Tao.
it's just a personal expression of what how you express what this entity or this thing that can't be
Energy.
described is the way.
Oh, that was a good one. Whew, where did that come from? Oh, good. My eyes can water my contact lens. Yeah, no, this is some good stuff. I think it's making me cry. That's what's going on. It's so powerful
Okay,
here.
I'll read it something Amberson said.
Oh, good. Thank you,
She
Emerson.
said, or is it like it's a floor wax and a dessert topping? I'm confused. If you get it, tell me. I'll keep reading. She, Amberson, is the name of one of my previous cats. He was my quote boyfriend,
Ah,
LOL.
that's funny.
Ooh, isn't becoming an antique
Oh,
word for beautiful? I
yes,
didn't
she's
know
very
that.
becoming.
That's right.
Yeah, it took
Good
me a second.
call, Amberson.
Yeah. See the value
Right.
that our audience adds? Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
You could just call them our audience instead of
Yes.
slaves. Hmm.
She says like I'm assuming she means floor wax and dessert topping is the
Oh,
paradox.
referring to the paradox.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I still can't. I'm sorry. Sometimes things go over my head.
It's like trying to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, there you go. So, but yeah, without limit and perfect, there is a becoming. Wow, beyond heaven and earth. It hath nor motion nor form, whatever. Yeah, it is alone. It changeth not. Yeah, that was a good verse, or
Yep.
at least the portion of the verse.
Yes. Speaking of portions of the verse, I'll now read the second and third portion from Stan Rosenthal, 1984.
Not Stan, Stephen Mitchell.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. I thought I scrolled up already. I must have scrolled up then down.
I
Up.
had a feeling that was happening, so I was ready.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, because when I went back to us, I did scroll up, but I must have scrolled back down. All right. It flows through all things, and inside and outside, and returns to the origin of all things. I love this because it's flows, right? Like water flows or energy, and we can get an idea of what energy is just by looking at water. Because I feel like water is just a different, denser energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm.
so, and the Tao is great. The universe is great. Earth is great. Man is great. So, I like it because it's kind of like a little bit of a beginning and then he breaks it down again. So he's kind of repeating it. So
Mm-hmm.
he says what's great. He mentions the four great powers or whatever before he even says it. And then in the next verse or the next part of the verse, he says, there are the four great
Yes.
powers. The I did that again.
Yeah.
These are the four great powers. Man follows the earth. Earth follows the universe follows the Tao follows only itself.
I thought you were going to do a Star Trek thing. These are the voyages. Just kidding.
These are the four great powers of the Starship Enterprise. Proton beam bombs, phasers. Anyway, so yeah, no, I love this because and then when it gets to the Tao, so you get right above it, you get the Tao is great, universe is great, earth is great, man is great, and then it starts underneath man, earth,
Backwards.
yeah, backwards. So it's like a little pyramid, if you will,
Oh,
right?
yes.
A triangle almost, or
Man
maybe two
follows the
towers
earth.
or mountains or something like a tarot card.
Yes. So can you give a little more depth to that? Man follows earth, earth follows the universe follows the Tao
Well,
follows only itself.
I think the way we could look at this is you can even look at this as levels. Here, let me bring it back to our beautiful faces. It's what the people want to see. I feel like you can look at these as levels of consciousness, even, right?
Okay.
Man is the tip of the iceberg, the tip of the spear, as they used to say in the
Mm,
Marines. We're the tip of the spear. We're going to hit the ground running. Like we're the forward motion of all the stuff behind us, right? And then the next is the realm we live in, which is the earth. In, I say, not on. How dare you? Not you, Sharon, but so we live in the earth, and then the earth lives in the universe. So it's the next level up, whatever that is, the sky, who knows, right? And then whatever keeps this all going is the Tao. So you can even look at it like a Russian doll, right? The little,
yeah, nesting
it's,
dolls.
yeah, my dad
I
just ordered
love
a
it.
few, which is crazy because we just saw him on the show that we were watching the OA actually, the show that Topher recommended,
Oh, okay.
and they had those dolls
Yeah.
in it. And then when I was at Christmas, out of nowhere, my dad's like, "Yeah, I ordered some of these dolls for my nieces." So yeah, I think
Well,
that's really what it is.
yeah. Nacho Libre also says a collection of Russian nesting dolls. We watched that recently. It
The
made me
OA.
laugh. Hmm?
Ooh, oh, oh, okay,
The
yeah,
movie Nacho Libre with Jack
yes.
Black. Yeah,
I
very
gotta watch.
silly, very silly movie.
We watched the Big Lebowski,
Yeah, crazy movie.
and I'm glad I did because I thought I've seen it all, but
You'd never seen it before?
I thought I had, but there was parts that I clearly didn't remember. So I'm like,
That's
oh,
funny. Yeah, I had never seen it until Cody, was like, "Let's watch this movie."
I'm
Like I
definitely the dude.
sometimes I get annoyed because I'm just like, "Ugh, I just don't feel like watching this. And he's like,
Yeah.
just watch it. But yeah, it was funny, interesting. The dude, I thought the dude kept reminding me of Gordy is the funny part.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. So
It'd be a good Halloween costume for me. I just need a bathrobe and some shorts and sandals and like
yes.
and some sunglasses.
You
All right.
abide.
Yeah, I abide. I love Sam Elliott's character too.
Who was that?
Sam, he's the guy who narrated it, and he had the big mustache, and he's like the cowboy who was talking to him.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's funny. All
Yeah,
right,
sorry I
everybody.
interrupted you. You were talking about the Russian nesting dolls and how this applies to that.
Oh yeah, no, that's I finished my thought. We were good. So let's bring the funky Dow back, as they would say in a 90s R&B song. All right. Did you have anything else you want to say, or do you want to read?
No, I'll read. All right. So Dwight Goddard, second part of verse 25. If forced to give it a name, I will call it the great. The great is evasive. The evasive is the distant. The distant is ever coming near. Tao is great. So is heaven great, and so is earth. And so also is the representative of heaven and earth. Man is derived from nature. Nature is derived from heaven. Heaven is derived from Tao. Tao is self derived. That is perfect because that now makes a lot of sense with that whole Russian nesting doll thing that you just said. So that, right there, man is derived from nature. It's the smallest Russian nesting doll.
Yeah, that's us. Welcome to the club, everybody. We're just small Russian nesting dolls trying to get through the world.
The Woiled.
Try to get to
Yeah.
that next level.
Yeah. And then that part about the great is evasive. So he calls it the great. Do you have any comments on all this part? Because it's very poetic to me right now.
Yeah, I would say that he's kind of like, you can't give it a name. They call it Yahweh. If forced to give it a name, I will call it great. And then he says the great is evasive. The evasive is the distant. So even maybe the name great is evasive, or trying to point out what it is if is evasive. And then he's trying what he means by evasive. He's clarifying, like, and he's like, the evasive is the distance. Um, so he could mean a distance and understanding, something like that. The great is evasive. The evasive is distant. The distant is ever coming near.
Oh,
And
right.
there's
The
a
great is
paradox.
evasive. It's a mystery, like you were saying earlier.
Yes, yes.
It's mysterious.
Yep.
So, in that regard, it is distant because it's hard for people to comprehend something that is a mystery. So, it's distant to their minds.
And the distant is ever coming nearer. It's becoming, right? It's
Mm,
another kind of a paradox too.
yeah. It's accessible to you, you know?
Yep.
It's always there. It's always accessible to you. Okay. Tao is great. So is heaven great.
And we get
Okay.
the going backwards too. Tao,
Yeah.
universe, you could call it heaven. Earth, you can call it earth there, and then
Oh, the representative is the man, the
yeah.
representative of heaven and earth. That's man. I
Yep.
didn't see that until
Ooh,
now.
yeah, I like that.
Right? Am I reading that right?
Yeah, you are. And I like it too because it's kind of like everything is contained, the totality is contained in the whole. Like they say DNA, like every little strand of DNA has like every piece of you. It's that same,
Yeah.
in that way we
And the
are.
hologram.
Yeah, and the hologram. Exactly. You're getting it, Sharon. Yes. No, but yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the hologram one's a tough one to kind of comprehend, but this comes close to it. It's the same kind of
Right. And the DNA, like you were saying, the DNA comes close because
strand. Yeah.
if you can have everything within that one little piece that can describe all of you, that's insane, right?
Yep. The moat, right?
Yeah. It
Inside
reminds
the
me
moat
of,
contains the many or whatever. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, it reminds me of like when people can know like what illnesses or what dis-ease you're experiencing through your eyes, through iridology, or through your tongue, like looking at your tongue and whether there are cracks or the color or bite marks, whatever, or the feet, foot reflexology, and how each organ is represented in the foot.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
the air too. The air
In the
has,
ear as well. Yeah, that's just mind blowing. So there it is. It's all there.
that's right. This is a crazy, oops, hit my computer. Crazy spiritual realm which we exist in, allegedly, ladies and gentlemen,
Yes, indeed.
and spirits throughout all time.
Are we ready for Stan Rosenthal?
Yeah, I think so. I is. All right, here we go. We describe the Tao as being great. We describe the universe as great. Nature, too, we describe as great. And man himself is great. That's right. Man's laws should follow natural laws, just as nature gives rise to physical laws. My cat is being hilarious right now. She just like, anyway, she's running around. So okay, I'll read this again. Man's laws should follow natural laws, just as nature gives rise to physical laws, whilst following from the universal law, which follows the Tao. So here they're just breaking it down as laws, right? Instead of universes. I'm sorry, instead of like we were as energies with the Russian dolls
Mhm.
and the different the cat's really going crazy right now. It's hilarious. um, encompassed in these different energies. I feel like this is a more descriptive of a byproduct of that, which would be the law. So, right, we have laws that we must follow, such as like we can't fly, right? Like we have to walk and stuff like that. So there's physical laws.
Unless it's a city, right? Unless you're some,
Yeah, well, I
then
mean,
you
maybe we
can,
could fly, but in this current
you know what
today,
I mean. Not everyone can.
I mean, there's a window I
It's
could
like a
try.
magical power.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some people can levitate. I wouldn't doubt it. It's all buoyancy, right? Lighter than a feather. So I think that this though is describing the laws, which again I was saying laws are like characteristics. So the physical laws would be like you can't fly or whatever, right? For the sake of this argument. And then the spiritual laws would be kind of like karma, right? What goes around comes around, stuff like that.
The
So
hermetic principles,
what's that?
the hermetic principles.
Yeah, like the hermetic principles stuff. So on these different levels, you have all these laws, but we still are subject to all of them, being the many, right? So maybe beings that are just energy are only subject to the spiritual laws, not the physical laws, but we're subject to all of them. And then maybe, I don't know, I'm sure because this is all spiritual realm, I'm sure it's all subject to the spiritual, but there's maybe just certain energies that are, excuse me, subject to the physical law. So it's more of a kind of a swordsy, like we always say, this air version, this Stan Rosenthal version
Yeah,
of the Tao. And that's why it's great that we're looking at it from four different angles, because you could pick up different stuff. And then apophatically, by through negation, we could have a better idea of what Lao Tzu was trying to tell us.
right. And something you said earlier, and what you just said now a little bit earlier, about flow and what flows through us. It was in another part of the verse somewhere. Um, it made me think of something I was thinking of a couple of days ago about, Jesus being able to walk through walls after he resurrected, right? It's like you were talking about spiritual beings can don't have to follow those physical laws, right? Um so anyway, it just made me think of that. And it was kind of a
Exactly.
sync.
Another kind of shout out to that, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right. We ready for Aleister
Duty
Crowley?
is heavier than a mountain, and death is lighter than a feather. It's a saying from that Wheel of Time series. It's
Oh
so
no.
duty is heavier than a mountain, death is lighter than a feather. It's kind of like saying like don't worry about your death. That's the easy part. You know what I mean? It's all the other
No.
you got to do
Yeah.
that's going to be rough.
That's totally synced. I've been thinking about that this week about just like, what are we afraid of? What
Yeah.
is there to fear? Like, oh, all these things going on in the world. Whatever you're meant to experience, you will. Whatever you're not, you won't. And when it's your time, you will go. And that was your time. You know, it is what it
Quote
is
REM, it's the end of the world as we know
as
it.
we know it.
And I feel fine. And I feel fine. Yeah, I think it's always been the end of the world. That's well, as
Right.
long as people were controlled in the manner that we're controlled right now. Think of the
Right.
Cuban Missile
Kali
Crisis.
Yuga.
They're like, they got nukes in Cuba. Like they were yelling that on the news. Can you imagine? Hi, I'm Walter Concrete, and today I'm gonna tell
Concrete.
you about the nukes that are pointed at your children. They're only in Cuba. You could swim there. It's like, and we had a silent, we you can't see it. It's a virus. But anyway, yeah, there's always been the
Mm-hmm.
end of the world, right? Just think
Mm-hmm.
about how many plots there are behind, or conspiracy theories there are behind, like JFK, or even just the 11th day of September in that fateful year. It's crazy. Anyway,
Do you remember
do you
the
the
11th day
11th
of September?
in the year of 2001? We're just singing it, dude. We're not. It could have been an inside job. Ba-na-na-na. It'd be funny if we got a strike because of our song. Like,
Oh my God. No, we
just
won't.
no, I know.
I'm
It's
s-
a parody song.
we'll be fine.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure we'll be more than fine. I'm
We'll
sure
be
they're on to bigger and better things. They got bigger fish to fry. Um, all right, so you want to read the second part of the Aleister Crowley version? Oh,
I do. Welcome, Tony Coriolis.
Ooh,
Tony,
I like that name.
yeah, he's it's so funny that he did that and I had just done this, which is like the FE thing, hand symbolism
Yeah, yeah.
thing, because I met him through a group, a local group.
Oh,
Yeah.
and a Coriolis storm. Coriolis is a storm in Dune. It's a sandstorm. That's like really crazy.
Oh, there you
So
go.
I don't know if that's his intent or if it's just a synchronicity.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him show up in the chat, so welcome, Tony. All righty. Well, I will read Aleister Crowley, the second part of verse 25. I'm like getting ahead of myself. I'm like, where are we at? Okay.
Who are you with?
Moreover, I exert myself and call it vastness. Vastness, the becoming. Becoming, it flieth afar. Afar, it draweth near. Vast is this Tao. Heaven also is vast. Earth is vast. And the Holy King is vast also. In the universe are four vastnesses, and of these is the Holy King. Man followeth the formula of earth. Earth followeth that of heaven, and heaven that of the Tao. The formula of the Tao is its own nature. Wow. Just noticing that part about where were we? Let me just look on my notes. The earth is vast and the Holy King is also vast. We were talking about the Holy King. Did we see that somewhere else? Where did we see? What did we just see? Oh, the representative of heaven and earth. Dwight Goddard said the representative. And then he says the Holy King, which I would maybe think that's the kind of same thing he's talking about. So,
Yeah, I
and
can
then,
see that.
right. But then he says, in the universe are four vastnesses, and of these is the Holy King. But then he says, man followeth the formula of earth. Did we read that right? And man is the Holy King?
I think so, yeah, because it feels like it's the we were getting at with the other verses. You have the whole, the many parts contained in the whole kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
that would be the Holy King, I believe. Let me just
Mm-hmm.
see this. So in the universe are four vastnesses. So it's kind of like the greatnesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of these is the Holy King. Man followeth the formula of earth, earth followeth of heaven, and heaven of the Tao. The formula of the Tao is its own nature. In the universe, there are four vastnesses, and of these is the Holy King. Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to say. The Holy
Yeah.
King is all of these.
Oh,
And I
of
think
these.
that clue, because they don't mention man, right? It just says afar it draweth near. So vast this Tao. Heaven also is vast. Earth is vast, and the Holy King is vast also.
So he's comparing man to the Holy King.
I think so, yeah.
Ooh, Dissident Jones did a little pun. It says, you can have your cake and eat it too, but he spelled have is HALVE. So cut it in half and eat it too. TWO. That's cool.
I like it.
Nice
We're all
pun.
about the puns. I mean,
Yeah.
our show's named after a pun, our
Yeah.
show is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I like that, yeah. And I think we could have only figured that out if we looked at the other three versions.
Right. That's awesome. That's how esoteric and deep Alistair's version is. It's like you kind of have to sit and chew on it for a minute or more.
Yeah, just and it says sorry to be silly. Don't you don't have to sorry to apologize to being silly here.
Yeah,
It's
no
all
apologies.
silly. These are deeper. What do you say? There's a heart in my way.
Sorry to be silly. These are
Oh, these are
deep.
deep. Yeah, there
I
we go.
think Crowley is hitting the best on these verses. He
Yeah,
really just like which one of the things did you say this was? Was it fire?
fire indeed. Yeah, it really
He's
is
fire.
fiery. But
Nice.
I think without the other keys, without looking
Yeah.
at the other ones, or at least without looking at one other one,
Without earth. air, water, you can't see the fire.
That's right. All
Yeah,
right.
so let's see. Hold on just one second.
Yes.
There's that part at the beginning. I exert myself and call it vastness. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Please give me your insight because I'm not seeing anything right off the bat.
Oh, I was on the wrong verse already. Moreover, I exert myself and call it vastness. So I think he's going, I know not its name, but I call it the Tao. And then he's like, you know what? Moreover, I'll exert myself and I will call it vastness. So he's even attempting to get a little more maybe specific with the name or something. So he's trying even harder. He's like, I'm gonna call it the Tao. And then basically he's just going like, no, let me try harder than that. I'm gonna call it vastness.
Hmm.
That's kind of what I'm getting out of that. What do you think?
Vastness, the becoming it flieth afar, afar it draweth near. We kind of talked about that because of the other verse where it was.
And it's becoming even more vast. So there really isn't a paradox here, I don't think.
I think Dwight Goddard's is the closest one to Aleister's when it's talking about the evasive, the distant ever coming near. It's funny how sometimes those two from the era of the 20s is or from that time frame is they're
Yeah.
very similar in some ways.
Yeah, I was gonna say that when we were talking about breaking them down. Oh yeah, there and I was wrong. There is the paradox. It flieth afar it draweth near. So it's
Yes.
everywhere, right? Here, there, everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Vast.
Yeah, like the other verse where they talked about where Aleister Crowley likened it to omnipresence or something, maybe. I think it was in one of the verses.
Omnipotence,
Yeah,
something like that.
omnipresence, omniscience.
Omnipresence. Yeah, omniscience. That's the word.
That's a knowing, right? The
Hmm?
all knowing.
It's the Tao. All right, what do you think? You want to move on to 26?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I love this. We're really like breaking things down, like even having a better understanding than I did before. Just by you asking me kind of forces me to focus more on it than I normally would.
Yeah.
So perfect. And same vice versa. All right. So here's verse 26, the Stephen Mitchell version from 1988. The heavy is the root of the light. Here's the paradox. The unmoved is the source of all movement. Thus, the master travels all day without leaving home.
Hmm.
However splendid the views, she stays serenely in herself.
Mm.
Why should the lord of the country flit about like a fool? If you let yourself be blown to and fro, you lose touch with your root. If you let restlessness move you, you lose touch with who you are. Amazing. So it looks like we're getting back into some of this. Instead of describing the Tao, it's more about how to be and how to live and stuff.
Hmm. Yes. Dwight Goddard entitles us The Virtue, or shall we say day, of dignity. The heavy is the root of the light. It's very interesting that these two use the same exact words
Yeah.
for that line. The quiet is master of motion. Therefore, the wise man in all the experience of the day will not depart from dignity. Though he be surrounded with sights that are magnificent, he will remain calm and unconcerned. How does it come to pass that the emperor master of 10,000 chariots has lost the mastery of the empire? Because being flippant himself, he has lost the respect of his subjects. Being passionate himself, he has lost the control of the empire.
Mm.
The empire.
The Empire. Welcome, Joe. Joe made it. Hi, everyone. I
Oh,
made
there
it.
you go.
Marie Antoinette died on a dad joke. Nice.
I don't know that I understand that one.
I know I probably should, but I have too many things going on. Not for long, I guess. But hey, Sharon, that's all right. As long as you made it, we feel your energy.
Yes.
All right, cool. So let's go to Stan Rosenthal verse. I'll read it. He entitles it centering. Centering. Wait, what
I
is it?
Yes, centering. I mean, I just copy pasted.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
assuming that's a different spelling, an older spelling of centering, but I
Hmm.
didn't look it up, so I will do that.
All right, and I will read as you do that. The natural way is the way of the sage, serving as his dwelling, providing his center deep within, whether in his home or journeying. Even when he travels far, he is not separate from his own true nature. Maintaining awareness of natural beauty, he still does not forget his purpose. Although he may dwell in a grand estate, simplicity remains his guide, for he is full aware that's losing it. That he is full aware that losing it, his roots as well would disappear. So he is not restless, lest he loses the natural way. Similarly, the people's leader is not flippant in his role, nor restless, for these could cause the loss of the roots of leadership. What's up,
And
Cody?
I will read Aleister Crowley, The Nature of Mass. Mass is the fulcrum of mobility. Stillness is the father of motion. So esoteric already. Therefore, the sage king, though he travel afar, remaineth near his supplies. Though opportunity tempt him, he remaineth quietly in proper disposition, indifferent. Should the master of a host of chariots bear himself frivolously, if he attack without support, he loseth his base. If he become a raider, he forfeiteth his throne.
Ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, I'm excited to get through that one. And he's curt and kind of to the point there. As
Yeah. And you know what I
it's
like especially about this series? I feel like we're the only ones who even know that Aleister Crowley had his own version of the Tao, let alone talk about it on a show. So this is, guys, you're getting some top tier level uh,
breakdowns.
breakdowns and content here. I mean, nobody else is doing this. It's on us.
The best darn show
That's
on the internet.
right. And this is why we make that
We don't
claim.
make the claim that it's the best show on the internet, just the best darn show.
Best darn show. That's right. Which is even better than the best show.
I concur.
All right. Back to work. No, I'm just kidding. I love this. This would be
Oh,
cool if it wasn't. Imagine if that was your job. Today you're breaking down the Dow. I mean, it could be. All right, everybody. So I'm gonna read the first part now, and we're gonna discuss the first part of all these lovely interpretations of the Tao. The heavy is the root of the light. The unmoved is the source of all movement. There's that paradox. Thus, the master travels all day without leaving home. However splendid the views, she stays serenely in herself. Now, this is very poetic, and I think that Stan Rosenthal, when we get to that one, he breaks that one down more clearly. I guess you could say this is a little more has to rattle around in your brain a little bit, but to me, it makes a lot of sense. The master travels all day without leaving home, so um, I feel like that could be interpreted in several ways. One of them would be like, you could astral project or whatever. That could be like a physical one, but the other one too is also your mind. Um, where your focus is, what you're working on, if you're in the present moment or not. It could feel like you're traveling all day. And then I also like how it opens up with the heavy is the root of the light, the unmoved is the source of all movement. So you get this kind of little esoteric paradox here, trying to tell you about polarity, right? And then also about cause and effect. And then right after that, it talks about the master again, which is the person who's reading this, or the person who we aspire to be. So this is giving you the outline or the beacon, the example to be like travel all day without leaving home. And however splendid the views, she stays serenely in herself. So no matter where you are or how crazy these views are, you're still staying centered and balanced. You're not letting any of this stuff go crazy, because one of these views could be like something bad happens to you, right? You can look at
Which
what
can
they
throw
call,
you off.
however splendid the views. So the views, it could be splendid in a good way or splendid like in a horrific way, but this person is still staying centered.
Yes. When I look at the unmoved is the source of all movement. The unmoved is the Tao. It's that creative principle. It is unchanging, that the one that verse 25 was talking about. It itself is the source of all movement. It is the reason that we all move. It's the reason we all be, that we are becoming, right?
And
And
you could,
then
oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, this also reminds me of astrology when you get certain signs that are fixed. What do you call it? Like,
Mutable
yeah,
signs, fixed
mutable and
signs.
unmutable. Yeah. So it's like the unmutable is the source of the mutable kind of thing. And what I feel like it's showing is just the polarity, right? Or the different scales, or that all this works together. So you need silence in order to have sound. Without the silence to be the background for the sound, you wouldn't even know sound. Or without the break in the sound, it would just
Mm,
be it's like water.
nonsense noise.
Like
Yeah.
a fish that's in water doesn't even know it's in water, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Yes.
break.
Yep. Unless he gets caught.
Unless he bites my hook, and then he's my dinner. That's all right
Yes.
though.
Um, yeah. And let's see, like you, I was just trying to think of what else about the master traveling all day without leaving home. I was thinking, like you said, about like, yeah, you can astral project, or you can take, you know, something that will, like shrooms or something that will make you leave, you know, this particular moment in time. Um, and then travel in the whatever in the other realms. But also I was thinking, what was I thinking? Master travels all day without leaving home. Also, I was thinking also about like when you sit and think about something. Like I told you earlier, I was when somebody said, "Oh, there must be a creator," or "You must believe in a creator," or "How could you be an atheist?" You because this, that, and the other. Well, I take those kinds of "how dare yous" and I think about them, and I'm like, well, why would it be so ridiculous to think and view it in a different way? Why why does this rule have to be set that, oh, there is a such thing as a creator? And I'm not saying there isn't, right? But I like to go and think about these things. So just in that, you're like, you left home, like in your
Yeah.
travels, but you really didn't, because you're still sitting there thinking about all these things.
Yep.
So that's
And
what
in those thoughts, in those travels, no matter how splendid they are, they remain centered, right?
yeah.
Sweet. All right, I'll bring up the other verse. Can expand on this even further. Okay.
Oh, Amberson says, kind of like, no matter where you go, there you are. Stephen Wright.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It reminds me of Austin Powers when he's coming down the stairs in the casino and he's like, there you are, you're there.
Exactly. I use spot
Oh,
remover on my dog. Now I can't see him. It's another Stephen Wright joke, something like that.
oh, okay. I don't even know who Stephen Wright is. So,
He was a comedian who would just basically say funny things like that. They made fun of him on Family Guy a bunch too.
oh, okay. All right. Well, are we on? Oh, we're on Dwight Goddard. Virtue of Dignity, or the Day of Dignity. The heavy is the root of the light. The quiet is master of motion. Therefore, the wise man in all the experience of the day will not depart from dignity. Though we be surrounded with sights that are magnificent, he will remain calm and unconcerned. And this is very similar to the Stephen Mitchell, even that first line, like we said, the
Yeah.
heavy is the root of the light. I would say too, like maybe the heavy, the weighty, um, the concept of God is weighty. But it is, and this is also the word light can be light as in the frequency of light, as in what we see, versus how heavy or weighty something is, right?
Or
So,
even the darkness could be heavy,
yes, yes, a weighty darkness. Yeah, good point.
like
Uh,
fog.
the
Like the
the
fog last night where I was driving through was
oh,
as thick as
thick.
pea soup. Yeah, it was crazy last night.
Oh man, yeah. Like within the last week, we had some really heavy rain, and
Mm.
it was getting very dense around here. Not probably like where you guys are, but it was getting kind of dense.
Yeah, it
But
wasn't raining. It was like drizzling a little bit, but the fog in some spots because we drove a lot through the woods, it was couldn't even
mm,
see like 10 feet. It was crazy.
yeah, it's,
Very spooky. And then you could see the full moon coming through it though, so that was cool. So anyway,
well, shout out to Quiet Sparky Bear. He says, I do so look forward to Thursdays.
yeah, thank you. What's up,
And
Chris? QSB
Amber,
house
USB. Amberson
from the
says,
beginning.
Stephen Wright is very quotable, very funny, and very profound sometimes.
Yes, he
So,
is.
I never knew who he was. All right. Well, the next
Weird
line
sushi
says,
weather sink. Yes, of course.
"Oh, there's gosh darn it. He told me his first name. Oh, Carrie.
Hey,
Welcome,
Carrie, what's
Carrie. I
going
haven't
on?
seen her in so long. In person too. She's a friend of mine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. She lives in California. But
Yeah, I remember.
I met her through a YouTube channel back in the day, the Zen Garcia YouTube channel. That's how
Oh
we
yeah,
met
I
and became
remember.
friends. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So,
I'm walking thinking about the fog right now, and you mentioned that.
oh, that is a crazy sync.
That is a crazy sink. Yeah,
It
last night, I don't know. It looks like it could be foggy out there now, but it was nuts last night. Since the
was
terrible days. Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. We started that one
Oh,
up
that's
again too. I'm
right. The
sure you're aware of that.
terrible.
So go to
Yeah.
terrible.com, everybody, and you can listen to Ashley give me a reading because that was the episode this week. Ashley gave me a reading for 2024, and it was pretty cool, pretty mind blowing. So check it out.
Awesome. I remembered RV Nez Beats his real name. So, all right. Where was I? The heavy is the root of light. The quiet is master of motion. That's interesting. The quiet, and Stephen Mitchell says the unmoved is a source of movement, but Dwight says quiet. And there we go again with kind of like the play, maybe play on words of, like we said, heavy, darkness is heavy, light is, lighter in weight. Um, and this is quiet being the master of motion. What do you think about that?
I like that because it's a equating sound there with motion.
Right,
So
which
sound
is like
wave.
kind of mind-boggling, right?
Yeah, and if you think of how sound waves travel, there's motion there, I would assume, right? So, and when
Oh
things are
my
at rest
God.
and they're still, they're quiet also. That's another way to look at it. What I miss.
Cody said, "This is terrible," and he spelled it like,
Oh yeah, terrible. There you go.
oh, he needs peanuts. Okay. He's the peanut gallery today, guys. I think he's always the peanut gallery.
That's all right because
Um,
I'm
all
gonna
right.
copy and paste the episode. I'm gonna here watch. I'm gonna say this is terrible. Oops, nope, I didn't do that.
No, you're not. I don't
I'm
see
I'm
that.
uh I'm typing in the I always
The
do
wrong
that.
chat box.
Yeah, I'm typing in the emoji place.
I've
Self-proposes.
done that before. So
There we go.
hermetical,
Oh, I
says
screwed up.
Peter. Well,
Just
it's
the
there.
link.
Somebody will click on it.
There we go. Okay.
Boom. All right. So yes, sound waves, quietness, still but quiet. Oh yeah. Peter says still but quiet. Quiet is a master of motion. Yeah, I guess quiet can be related to stillness for sure. Right? Oh my God. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Peter, because Cody and I have been watching, he likes to watch interesting stories about missing people, about Sasquatch, and all those kind of interesting things, right? So there's a couple of things he watches. Can-Am 411 or missing something like that. I forget what it's called. Missing Project. Can-Am 411 or something like that. And then another guy named Steve Isdall, and he listens to their stories. And one of the guys, or some of them, were talking about, I think it was the other guy from Can-Am Missing Project. He was talking about an encounter that just weirdness that he's experienced, right? And they were in the woods, and he and his friend were like in the woods, and they experienced this silence that was like nothing they'd ever experienced before. There was no sound from anything about anything. There was absolute, and it lasted for a period of however long, and then the sounds came back, like the trees and the birds and it's stuff like that. But they were so weirded out by it, and they speak about it to this day. So that quiet means a stillness, right? Because if something is moving, you will hear it when people walk by, when the wind blows, when the trees move. And that's amazing. I just made that freaking connection. Jeez, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave Politis. That's him. Thank you. Thank you.
Aha.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Hey,
Listen. Yeah.
thinking. So we're here.
Peter says it reminds him of listening to the Coast to Coast back in the day.
Oh yeah.
That silent Cody says that silence is common before encounters. Yeah.
Ah, that
That's
makes sense.
yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, okay. The quiet is master of motion. Maybe because, like you said, the paradox. You can't know the motion unless you experience that quietness, the stillness first.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the wise man in all the experience of the day will not depart from dignity. That is being compared to the master travels all day without leaving home, from Stephen Mitchell. So what do you make of that?
Here, let's bring it up. Oops. I think that oh wait, am I in the wrong? Oh, I'm at the right place, right? Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, here we go. Therefore the wise man in all the experience of the day will not depart from dignity. So I feel like he's Dwight Goddard's getting to the point that Stephen Mitchell's making after he says, "Thus the master travels all day without leaving home." So I feel like he's just expanding on that, where it's kind of like a different thought that Stephen's giving us here about the master travels all day without leaving home. Or if
Okay.
you think about it this way, maybe home is his home state. So he'll travel all day in the world, but he stays home in his heart. Like he stays
Oh, that's
balanced.
another way to view it.
Yeah. See, and it's
Home
because
is
I'm
where the
looking at
heart
the other one.
is.
Yeah.
Holy freaking smokes.
Holy.
You can travel the world. You can go wherever you want, but stay true to yourself. Holy freaking smokes.
See, and we only got that because we were looking at the other one.
Right.
Hmm.
Oh my, that's so good. Though he be surrounded with sights that are magnificent, right? He can be traveling the world, seeing amazing things. He will remain calm and unconcerned. He can go somewhere where I just watched some clip of some girl who said she went to like Gaza Strip, and how there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in there. Like there's a lot of rules, and I won't go into detail,
There's a lot
but
of interesting stuff going on there. Like I
yeah, there's things that you're not allowed to do that are very draconian, can we say. Um and you can, let's say you do make that travel, right? And you see this magnificent thing. It could be negative or positive, right? But you can remain calm, right? Because whatever's meant to happen to you will happen to you. Whatever God has for you, he will have for you. He, she, whatever. Um, why fear? What is there to fear? Remain calm in your heart. And I want to say that future episode we're going to do is going to be about fear. So I'm kind of excited about that one.
look for that, everybody. I'm excited about that too. All right. What do you think? You want to move on?
Yes.
Moving on up. All right.
It's funny.
Centering
I know what that refers to, but I don't remember.
the Jeffersons.
Yeah, but I never watched it, but I know what it
Oh,
is.
oh, I got you.
And
I,
I mean, I probably saw clips of it, but I don't.
oh, it was a great show. Really good. Uh,
Before you read,
yes.
the title is called Centering.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
It is defined as a temporary structure, especially one made of timber, used to support an arch during construction.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Used to support an arch during construction. So if you're this arch that's being constructed, this is your support, right? Like if you're becoming a better person or working on yourself or whatever. The natural way is the way of the sage, serving as his dwelling, providing his center deep within, whether in his home or journeying, whether in his home or journeying. Okay, so the natural way is the way of the sage, serving as his dwelling, providing his center deep within, whether in his home or journeying. So he has this center that is deep within
Just
him.
like we just talked about, right?
Yeah,
What we already read gives so much depth, and
it
now
really
we're
does. We don't even really have to say anything, right? It's like,
it's
see,
so crazy.
even
It
when he
makes
travels. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just was
Oh,
saying
okay.
it's crazy
Yeah,
how this works.
yeah, it is. Even when he travels far, he is not separate from his own true nature, and that's exactly what we said, right? Even if you go far, maintaining
That's
awareness
where
of
the heart
natural
is.
beauty. Yeah, it's where the heart is. Maintaining awareness of natural beauty, he still does not forget his purpose. And I like this too because it's a lot less poetic, more
Mm-hmm.
straightforward, maintaining
Yeah.
awareness of natural beauty. He still does not forget his purpose. So you could enjoy the sights, everybody, indulge, have a good time, but don't forget your purpose here. You have a purpose here, everybody.
Right. Just like I had said earlier, like, yeah, you can travel and see all these things. And let's say, all these things may be happening around you. If you're in a place like I mentioned earlier, you could be having bullets flying all over the place. And, whatever happens to you, just know that is as long as you're following, you know, your passion and doing, following the golden rule, like you shouldn't have to fear or worry about anything, because you should know that you're on your path and on your dharma. And I think there's a word called ikigai, right? Isn't that like your purpose or something like that? So you're following all that. So if something were to happen, just you would know that that was the plan, trust the plan.
Yeah, very well put. It's all for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, this one was really good. I like how Stan can be very more clear about things in his interpretation.
Yeah, 100%.
Aleister calls this the nature of mass. So that's even different than the whole centering, which was like a framework, right? A support system. Well, I guess it's related to mass, right? Something that's weighty and heavy.
Just a kind
Mm,
of different way to look at it.
yeah. Mass is the fulcrum of mobility. Now, let me just expand upon the word fulcrum here because I just need to look at a definition. The support or point of rest on which a lever turns in moving a body. Wow, there you go. Same kind of thing that Stan's talking about. Any prop or support. There you go. So mass is like the support system of mobility. Huh. Stillness is the father of motion. Oh, there we were talking about stillness. The other verse was talking about um what did we just say?
Fulcrum.
No, when we were talking about stillness, the quiet, right? Dwight
Oh yeah.
Goddard said,
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at the chat.
"Oh yeah, it's okay."
Mass,
Um,
yeah, stillness is the father of motion. Yeah, so instead of looking
wow.
in like a silent way, now they're talking about like in a
And Dwight says the quiet is master of motion.
yeah.
So almost
Oh yeah,
this,
stillness.
and we came to that without even looking at the other verse yet. That's awesome. Okay. Therefore, the sage king, though he travel afar, remaineth near his supplies. Now I'm just going to say some kind of funny, but it reminded me of when I'm at like a family event or whatever. Like I always tend to sit next to the food because I'm like, I can always go back real quick and grab some more if I want.
Gotta be near the
Those
supply.
are my supply
Yeah.
supplies.
Yeah.
I can say that too. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, you're exactly 100% right. So if you were to travel, you're going to stay near your home base. Like even when you're backpacking, right? You'll set up shop one night, you'll have a tent and all your supplies. You never go far from that. I like it. So
Yeah,
it's like a really good allegory to when you're actually traveling somewhere, you shouldn't go far from your own point of view or your own ethical code or whatever it is. You shouldn't stray far from the golden rule.
right. Right. That's a good point. Straying far from your ethical view. And that's why earlier we were talking about like when people are like, you know, there's a creator and don't you dare question that. Like, don't be, how dare you be an atheist type of thing, right? Well, that's your point of view. Don't stray far from it. If that's what is holding you to whatever and that's works for you, cool. Like don't stray far from that. But I was willing to stray from that if I needed to, just to see a different point of view, right? Until
Yeah.
I came to another point. That's like the path, it's like a journey.
Yep, exactly. Like a video game. Level 2 or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I didn't finish reading. Um, though opportunity, oh, you want me to wait till you bring it up?
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
All right. So though opportunity tempt him, he remaineth quietly in proper disposition, indifferent. And I think, yeah, Dwight Goddard says unconcerned. So these two kind of mirror each other a little bit, very similar. In proper disposition, indifferent. And Dwight says he will remain calm and unconcerned.
Yeah, I like that
Remain
use of the word
quietly.
indifferent.
Yeah,
People look at it like as a negative thing, I would say mostly, but it just means really at the end of the day that you're kind of just trusting the plan. You're indifferent to what happens because you're not sitting there wishing for something. Come on, please, like,
it's
come
the
on, make that
neutral,
basket. One
right?
more field goal. I gotta cover the spread. Come on, like you're
Yeah,
just kind of going with go with the flow. And if you lose that bet that you made on the New York Giants, then you just keep moving, right? And if you win, then you bet more. No, I don't know, but yeah, it's more of just kind of accepting things as they happen and being indifferent to them
right,
inside. You could still help people or comfort them or whatever it is, and you could still feel certain ways, but you have to remember that you know it's all part of the plan.
right. And it reminds me of how we've been kind of talking about this word, this word neutral, like remaining neutral. It's kind of been like a sink lately, that word and that concept. It's basically what you just said. It's like if something goes one way, great. If something goes another way, great. You don't have to be attached to the outcome or what happens. It's living in the world without attachments, which means without being what's the word I'm looking for? Being attached to the
Outcome,
expectation, the outcome, sorry,
expectation.
without expectations is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can have certain expectations, but you don't have to be attached to them. The attachment is what will, well, I mean, you can if you want to, but you might experience a little bit of discomfort.
Yeah, a little suffering. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all. It really is as simple as trusting the plan, just breaking it down to that. I feel like it. And I know we repeat these things over and over again, but I feel like it is helping us learn too, because it's not like, again, we say this all the time, but it's not like we have this all figured out and we're just laying back like, oh yeah, this is great. Like we have, everyone has their own challenges in this life to get through, and stuff they would like to heal or become, things they would like to become.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't become that without being this first stage. You can't become the beautiful butterfly without first being the caterpillar,
The funny looking caterpillar.
crawling around on the ground.
Yes, you can't fly if you haven't walked on the ground first. Could it be?
Right. All right. Lovely. All right, I'll come back up now. We'll break down the second part of this verse. Stephen Mitchell from 1988. Why should the lord of the country flit about like a fool? If you let yourself be blown to and fro, you lose touch with your root. If you let restlessness move you, you lose touch with who you are. I love this verse because it's a really good remedy for any kind of victimness
Mm.
people might be feeling. They could say to themselves, why should I flit about? If I'm the lord of the country, why should I flit about like a fool? And it's saying, if you let yourself be blown to and fro, and I feel like that's really internally, right? So if you let all these things that happen in the world affect you internally and you're like, oh no, and you're worried and what's going on, just the same stuff we were just talking about, right? Not trusting the plan, then that's what's going to happen, right? You're going to lose touch with who you are if you let the restlessness move you. And I feel like that's an action, it's going to have a lot of effect on your actions. I mean, you're not going to maybe sleep well, um, all kinds of stuff. And this has to do with fear, which we're going to talk about. So excited about. And cool thing, I'll give a quick sneak preview because I don't think it's exactly what people expect what we're going to be talking about in our upcoming episode about fear. Because I don't think we're going to be looking at it as a negative thing. We might be looking at it as a positive thing. Could it be? Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, but in this context, I think that's what he's saying, and he puts it really nicely because he's kind of like asking a question. He's not making a statement. He's like asking, "Why should the lord of the land flit about like a fool? If you really are the lord of the land, why should you flit about and not be aware and just act like a fool?"
Yes, good. I love that interpretation.
All right.
Dwight Goddard says in the second half of verse 26, how does it come to pass that the emperor, master of 10,000 chariots, has lost the mastery of the empire? Because being flippant himself, he has lost the respect of his subjects. Being passionate himself, he has lost the control of the empire. Now, this puts it in a different perspective, even more than what we just read. So the empire is probably his own, we're talking internal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always as above, so below, as within, so without. So as an example of this emperor who rules over an empire, he's talking about that in a physical perspective, but we are looking at it in like a spiritual perspective. And so he's a master of these thousands of chariots, but he's lost the mastery of the empire. How so? Because he was being flippant and he lost the respect of his subject. He was being passionate and he lost control over the empire. And that now makes me go back to the, Stephen Mitchell version talking about flitting about like a fool, blowing
Yep.
to and fro, having these, letting the winds, I think the Bible talks about this, but letting yourself be tossed about by the winds, right? Where, one day it's, simple things like when I used to look at the news, right? Just, whatever, read articles. And one would be like, coffee is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It provides you with so many XYZs and, studies have shown XYZ, and then not a day later, or 2 day, whatever, however long it lasted, someone else would say, oh, coffee is the most horrible thing for you. You can XYZ, you should never drink it because blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, pick one, right? It's like, why does it have to be both of those? How about neither of those? How about it's okay? If you want it, have some. How about it could be an attachment you have with coffee and your
Yeah.
relationship to coffee.
That would make a
Right?
much
So
better article.
if you were tossed about by all these differing ideas from the people around you and like, oh, this country is invading this other one, or all these people are showing up at these borders and blah, blah, blah. Like, what are you going to do? It's like,
I thought you muted yourself for a second. That was good.
no, I just didn't say the word.
Yeah.
you know,
Chickens. No, yeah.
that's the passion, right? Passion. Like, no, like I used to be that way. I used to be so passionate about my thought and my belief and my this. I was
And
like, to
again,
let
there's
go.
nothing wrong with the passion or the anger or any of this stuff, right? It's just recognizing what it is and where it's coming from, and then realizing that there might be a better use for it or a better way to maintain balance, right? Because you don't have to take all these things so personally, right? If
Mm-hmm.
somebody thinks coffee's terrible, and you could be like, well, man, that's like your opinion, man, from the great from
The
the people
dude.
about the dude. Well, that's like your opinion, man, about
Oh
like
my God. I
you
love
need to
that.
cover your. That's what I should next time. If someone's like, you need to cover your smiling face, I'll be like, well, yeah, that's your
That's your
opinion, man.
opinion, man.
Anyway,
Dress as the dude.
yeah, yeah,
Oh man.
yeah.
That's great.
Uh, all right,
Are we ready for the next one?
I think we are quite ready. All right, there we are. Okay. Oh, you know what I did want to say though too, because you were talking about, so the emperor is like an allegory, but also though it is what they're saying here is true too for an emperor also, right? Like you were saying, the as above so below thing. So a ruler could look at these words of wisdom and gain stuff too. So that's the great thing about this stuff. It's so esoteric and poetic. It works on all different levels. So yeah, an emperor, it doesn't matter if he is the master of 10,000 chariots. If he becomes flippant and too passionate, over passionate about things, they're going to find someone else.
Yeah. And, I had, when I was working in the world, I don't know what to say. When I used to work for the man, I should say, um, there was this one woman, and someone had asked me my opinion about how she managed. And I said that felt that she managed a lot with her emotions rather than being logical and reasonable. She would just be angry about something, and that's how she would make her decisions. And I didn't think that that was very wise. So when you're overly passionate and you're using your emotions and your feelings to guide how you're just going to make a decision, that's okay to use them, but use them in a balanced way. Stop and think, calm yourself down. Don't let your anger and your, hatred of something rule over you, and allow yourself to, when you're angry, you should not make any decisions. I learned this when I was, dating a guy who was, what some people would call a narcissist. When you're angry, you just need to stop and just calm down, because responding in anger isn't going to help at
Yep.
all.
Nope. Well, maybe in certain circumstances, but in most, it's not gonna.
Yeah,
Maybe if you're being attacked or something, but yeah, no,
right.
100%. I love that. All right, where were we? I'm going to scroll down now. Yeah, that's huge about the. Oh, that's what I wanted to say before I get into this. So you were saying if you're over emotional, and that also goes when you're trying to make a decision without any feeling at all. That could be wrong too, right? So it's not if you're emotional or if you're thinking, because behind the
It's a
scenes,
balance. It's neutral. There's a
yeah,
neutrality that you have to be.
totally. And behind the scenes, we've been looking, I haven't been looking as deep, but Sharon and Joe have been looking into the personality types and spoons and stuff. And this is a big aspect of it, because some people are, the way they see the world and the way they function, they're based more on feeling. And some people are based
Sensors,
more on thought, right? So you have the thinking versus feeling
feeling,
access thing
and
going
the
on.
sensing versus the intuition.
Yeah, external versus
Yeah.
internal sensing. So if you're going to go around making all these choices without any feeling or heart at all in it, then you might become like a despotic ruler. So it really is about a good balance.
Indeed. Good point there that I missed.
Yes. Oh no, you're fine. You reminded me of it actually. Okay. So the second part of the San Rosenthal verse is, although he may dwell in a great estate, simplicity remains his guide. I like this because it's the same kind of thing that you're seeing with journeying, and you're seeing all these great things, but you keep your heart and you keep your center. So
Mm-hmm.
same thing though, a rich person, right? So a lot of people might get down on rich people and give them a hard time, but everybody has their own karma. So although he may dwell in a grand estate, simplicity remains his guide, for he is full aware that losing it, his roots as well would disappear. So somebody that's well grounded and well rooted, even if they do make a lot of money or become famous or whatever it is, they stay grounded. Like, and you can see this in all kinds of famous people, right? Some people are down to earth. You can talk to them, some famous people, and some famous people are just not on this level at all. They just have so much money and everybody knows who they are. Couldn't even imagine what that would be like. So,
Insane.
yeah, in the membrane. Insane brain. Cypress Hill. All right, so
Yes.
yeah, so he knows his root would disappear. So that's pretty good. I like that.
What
So
he knows his root. What is the root?
I would say that if you refer back to, he is full aware that losing it. So if he loses the simplicity, then his roots would disappear as well. So if he got to somewhere with humble roots in an easy beginning, if he forgot that and became full of himself, say
Mm.
somebody became successful in whatever business it was and he became like a multimillionaire, they could be a real total jerk to all the other people that helped them on the way up. They can even move out of their neighborhood and not associate with like relatives and stuff. But if they remember who they were and they remember their roots, and I feel like you could see this in the music industry a lot, like some people are one hit wonders and then they just make terrible music or whatever after, but some people stay true to their roots and stay grounded and don't let the stuff go to their head, and they're able to draw upon that creative well that they have. Maybe it wasn't just through despair, like a lot of people get famous because they're like poor and stuff, but
Mm.
some people might figure it out, and even though they are poor and then they moved up now to being rich, they're centered and grounded,
Yeah. Okay, got it.
which is a good lesson. So one day, Sharon, when we're rich, we'll remember the little guys.
We'll still be here, guys.
We'll be here doing the Over Sharon show. All right.
Did you
So
want to comment on anything else, or is that
yeah, I gotta keep. I think I have to read. So he is not restless. So he's not restless, lest he loses the natural way. Similarly, the people's leader is not flippant in his role, nor restless, for these could cause the loss of the roots of leadership. So here we get a little bit of this leader, this comparing to the ordering of yourself. And this is like something Mark Passio I learned from him, where it's like you want internal monarchy over your state of emotions or whatever it is, or your balance. You want to have that balance hardcore locked up inside. That might be a wrong way to put it, but you know what I mean. And then out externally, you want the anarchy where people could follow the golden rule and stuff like that. That's kind of what this reminds me of, though, with the whole ruler motif.
yeah, the emperor and
The leader, the people's leader.
yeah. So there was something I wanted to say, but now I can't remember. So he is not restless lest he loses the natural way. I guess, like you were saying, his roots, right? That goes back to that.
Yeah, and if he's restless, like we were saying earlier, if he's all conflicted inside and emotional and all of a sudden can't sleep, then he's going to lose the natural way. If he's
Mm-hmm.
restless internally.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot here. So, and the word flippant was used again, right?
Yep.
And that was from, who said flippant? Who else said flippant? Stephen Mitchell,
Yep.
right? Oh no,
No,
sorry,
no.
Dwight Goddard.
Dwight. Yeah,
See,
Dwight.
that's funny. How funny, Dwight
The
Goddard.
20s. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it really makes you wonder who was looking at who's when they were.
yeah. If they were, because
Yeah,
it could have just been all in the ether too, right?
yeah. Or certain characters.
Akashic record.
Could it be?
Yeah.
The people's leader is not flippant in his role nor restless. That's right. And I like how, again, it's very airy and wordy. So he's just telling you basically, it could cause the nor restless, for these could cause the loss of the roots of leadership.
Yeah. Because rulers need to be practical, they need to be grounded, they need to, be neutral, they don't need to be flippant. And flippant, I
Talking
just
to
looked in
you,
the
Donald
dictionary.
Trump. No, I'm just kidding. Or Joe
Flippant,
Biden.
flippant's definition says frivolously disrespectful, shallow, or lacking in seriousness, characterized by a levity. There you go.
Yeah, it reminds me of the clown show that we got going on in this country, right? With our supposed leadership. It makes sense though, because everything is inverted, right? So of course the leadership would be inverted as well.
Mm,
Not
that's true.
according to the Tao.
Indeed.
As above, so below, my baby.
Speaking of Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, here, I'll bring it up now. I'll stop scatting. All right, go ahead.
Oh, we're fine. All right. Aleister Crowley, the second half of verse 26. Should the master, and he says of unhost, which I don't even know why, but I would say a host. Should the master of a host of chariots bear himself frivolously? That reminds me of Flit About Like a Fool from Stephen Mitchell, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Should the master of a host of chariots bear himself frivolously? And he's using the word chariots like Dwight Goddard did. How funny. If he attack without support, he loseth his base. If he become a raider, he forfeiteth his throne. And he, in some ways, it's funny how his is more closely tied to Dwight Goddard's, right? And I feel like Stan Rosenthal's was more like Stephen Mitchell's, right?
Yeah. Except for the flippant part.
Okay, yeah. So Dwight Goddard says because being flippant himself, And Aleister Crowley says he attacks without support. And Dwight Goddard says he has lost respect of his subjects. And Aleister Crowley says he loseth his base. Oh, base of support, I suppose.
Yeah, I like that. So say he attacks, an enemy, but he doesn't have the support of his base, he's going to lose it.
Mm,
Same thing.
yes.
So, and if he's the master of a host of chariots, right? So there's a bunch of chariots running around. He's the master. If he becomes a raider, so if he becomes like a pirate or a bad guy, then he's going to lose his own throne. He's going to lose his, the leadership position, really.
Wow. Last night, Cody and I finished watching we finished the trilogy and watched The Return of the King, the extended version. So it's
Ooh.
like freaking 4 freaking hours. We had intermission.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it just made me think of all the war scenes in that. That was full of war scenes in that one.
100%. It's the same thing. Like if, the fellowship didn't get the support of all the people, and if Gandalf didn't get their support and he just attacked it by himself, he would have been on his own,
Yeah. Yeah.
Gandalf.
Brandolph.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to say about this?
No, I think that's that's all I have.
Awesome. What's going on with the chat? What's up, chat? Thank you guys for sticking around.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about this conversation. Y'all are looking at it with fresh eyes. Yes, exactly. Put that in a comment, Amberson.
Yeah. In the intro to this series, we talked about that. We're talking about how we're not experts. We've never sat down and done this before. I was looking at it with even fresher eyes than Brandon, who had listened to the Tao many times before. But Brandon had never seen any of these other versions. We'd never done like a deep dive. So, we're all looking at this with fresh eyes.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't even usually read them ahead of time because I kind of just want the fresh.
Yeah, I do because I'm putting them together, but sometimes it's, I put them together and then and I'm done with that a few weeks before they're out. So I forget, what they said. But this time I did it yesterday. So I remembered a little bit. But I can read the changing lines from card number 17 of the I Ching.
Do it.
Line 1 at the bottom is
Do it.
an unbroken line. When a person of vision undertakes a challenge, they must sometimes change direction in the course of events. When these changes result from sincere communication with those of different opinions, good fortune will follow. But care must be taken not to be swayed by current opinion. Carry your convictions out into the crowd. Stay open to the ideas of others, but hold your ground on matters of integrity. This is exactly what that verse was just about.
Yeah. That's
like,
crazy.
right? What was the one about dignity? Dwight Goddard's version, verse 26. Therefore, the wise man in all the experience of the day will not depart from his dignity. And then about the rulers and stuff. This is very synced with that. Line number 2 is a broken line. It says, choose your associates carefully. If you have incompetent people around you, this may be the time to dismiss them or to at least distance yourself from them. However, be wary of associating only with the strong and powerful. The moon shines brightly in a sea of small stars, but vanishes with the rising of a single sun. And that's why we here at the show are the Capybara Club.
That's right. The Capybara Club. Welcome to the Capybara Club.
We'll be friends. We'll associate with people. We may not know them in depth. We may not know all about them, but we'll have civil conversations.
Yep. Yeah, you don't have to agree with every single thing one person says. That just is like,
that's insane.
how boring would that be, right?
Yeah. I just read that in one of those books, those Toltec books that I'm reading, because I'm reading a few at a time.
Yeah, those are based. I haven't read all of them, but I've listened.
I love them. They're so good. Like those books, like you could read over and over again. They're so good. Line number 3 is a broken line. It says, as you move through life, opportunities arise to develop associations with powerful, distinguished, honorable people. Associating with them brings good fortune, but each new connection with someone of valuable influence may require an equal and opposite diminishing of a relationship you have with someone of less influence. The strong of heart leave behind what is superficial and accept the challenge of developing better relationships. Line number 4 is an unbroken line. It says, it often happens that as a person attains a position of influence, they attract a chorus of flatterers who use their supposed loyalty to gain personal advantage. Be wary of such flatterers. Their influence is subtle but can be destructive. Flattery is most effective with the immodest people with large egos. Hold your ego in check during times of success, and you will be able to see through the insincere intentions of others. Not being able to see parasites for what they are is a precursor to misfortune. Wow. Very true.
Yeah, that goes along with what we were saying with the root, right? Remain true to your roots.
Exactly.
You don't want to lose your root. Yeah. Wow. That's very synced.
Line number 5 is also an unbroken line. Set your compass toward what is beautiful and true. Have confidence in your intuition and sail out into the glistening sea. Perseverance furthers and good fortune follows. That's kind of synced too in some ways. Have confidence in your intuition. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. The reason I laughed was because we didn't plan any of this stuff with that deck in this Dow series. It kind of just came together, and then you had the deck. So it kind of reminds me of what we were saying before when you're really worried about like the future or what you're going to do going forward, and you're like, you want certain outcomes to happen. Well, sometimes when you just put the right intention forward and take the right action, things just fall into place, right? Like that deck with this whole series, like
Yeah.
sometimes with our quotes that we grab, we won't, so a lot of times we'll have a guest on, we're not exactly sure, like Owen, right? Like Bootsy Greenwood. That quote that we had in the beginning of that was perfect, and the card that we pulled went along perfectly with all that stuff. A lot of the card pulls, that's another thing. We'll pull a card and it just resonates so much with what we're talking about. So I think that's more living in accordance with the Tao. We're kind of just going with the flow, and we stay very balanced because you're very prepared and I'm more go with the flow. So we have this great balance going on, and we respect each other's boundaries and stuff when it comes to that. So it's a great example of the Tao. There you go. Our show is the Tao.
The
Over
masculine and
Sharon
the
follows the
feminine.
Tao. The Tao follows over Sharon. No,
Masculine, the feminine, the Libra.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a
Final.
giant, you're average size.
Hmm?
I said I'm a giant, you're average
Yeah.
size. So it's like,
Yeah. Well, line number 6, the final line is a broken line. It says, it may be time to seek the counsel of someone wiser and more experienced than you are. Be receptive to advice from a person you respect and make the proper adjustments. If that person agrees to work actively on behalf of your cause or enterprise, supreme good fortune will result. Another possibility here is that through understanding and respect, you will be joined by a follower who forms a supportive bond with you. And there you have the reading for card number 17.
awesome.
Indeed.
All right, everybody. Well, that was
Thanks.
the Over Sharon show. Big shout out to the chat. That was a good one. I really love this Tao series that we were breaking it down. I really feel like when we finish with it, it's going to be an upgrade. I mean, every one is just like an upgrade, but when we're done, it's going to be like, how you like me now? And I feel like this content is something that people can go back. It's like timeless. You could watch this in 2038 or whatever.
Yeah, it's I like that because
2040. Sorry, 2040. Yeah.
right. I like that because I like classic. I like timeless. I like timeless
Yeah.
stuff. And back when I used to back when I was, eh, trying to look into the whole Christian thing and be like, read the Bible and all that stuff. I'm not knocking it, but I was following this certain pastor. And what I liked about his sermons is that they were very timeless. They were very classic. Like, he wasn't talking about current events. He wasn't talking about like, oh, what's going on in the world and being, that way. He was more focused on what is this story trying to tell us in the Bible, or what are these verses trying to tell us? And so they are just classic. Like, you could listen to them at any time. And, and that's the thing, even with certain shows you watch on YouTube, you know, certain people like to watch, current event stuff, not knocking it because, if that's what you like, go for it. But like, I prefer to listen to things that are more timeless, I guess. And I guess I didn't really make that connection till right now, that maybe the stuff that I do look into is really not with the times. You know what I mean? It's just um books about, good wisdom and, content on the YouTubes or whatever of, good wisdom. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. And Bill Donahue came to mind when you were saying that, because we watched all those Bill Donahue lectures that he did. And those were from like what, the 90s or whatever. He had like a camcorder or something, like, so and they were so interesting to us. And I mean, it was so old. Or the Ram Dass thing that we listened to from like the 60s, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I love those.
Yeah, there's
That's
something to be said about that. I feel like, you know, it, sometimes people want to be informed, but like we were saying before, a lot of times that could just add to the inner turmoil. Now, if you've encompassed what we've been talking about the Tao, and you have this internal balance, and somehow you want to document what's going on for future generations or whatever, or you just have some people have like they like history or they like current events, then I think if you look at it with a balanced worldview, or at least like a one that's not going to drive you crazy and stress you out. You're kind of just looking at it as, oh, this is just what's happening. Like, with that attitude, I think it would be better. But again, I used to
to
look at
each
all
his
that stuff.
own.
So to each his own, exactly, indeed. So yeah, big shout out to the chat. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks to all the newcomers in
Emerson
the
says
chat.
indeed, and honestly, who could really be an expert on these
Things.
things or this? Yeah, exactly. There really is no anyone who says they're an expert. Beware.
Exactly.
you know you're the master, okay, all right, like, yeah, that's why I like the word shaman, because it's like shaman, like shah, like
Oh, shamans. Yeah. I really am really liking those Toltec traditions books
yeah,
about the shaman. I'm loving it. I'm going to keep talking about them probably.
good. It's great content. All right, well, if you would like more great content, just go to this. We have a playlist for these Dow series. You can start right from the beginning, where we do a breakdown of the whole thing that we're going to do, and then we're all the way up to now, now verse 26. So check those out. You can also check out the other Oversharing episodes. We've had a bunch of great guests on over the past 2 years, as well as the solo episodes, which we plan on doing again soon. We plan on doing a solo one that's not about the Dow, just to kind of talk about where we're at and all that stuff. So look for that as well. Look for the episode we're going to be doing on fear with our good friend Nick. And go to morelawsmoreproblems.com to find us. Check out our podcast if you like audio only, because I think this would be good audio too, just driving down the road, listening about the Dow, and how we're breaking it down. This is great. So go check that out. If you'd like to support us, the best way to do is to subscribe to this channel and just hang out here in the chat when we're live or when we're premiering these every Thursday. And if you'd like to support us in another way, perhaps monetarily, morelawsmoreproblems.com. There's several different ways to do it digitally. You can even mail me something. Shout out to Nick, by the way, who mailed Sharon and I great Christmas gifts. So thank you so much. We'll probably show a little on the next episode if I remember to bring up the crystal he got me. And yeah,
One thing
let's
more,
another great
Peter's
show. Be well. Thanks, Blue. What's that?
Peter says, yeah, thank you, Blue Kachina. Um, Peter says, thanks, guys. You're always the best soundtrack to my weekly grocery shopping. Thank
Oh, awesome.
you.
All right. Pay it forward.
Yeah.
And don't forget to give me coconut water. All right, everybody. What do we say to the good people, Sharon?
That once you start oversharing,
Then you totally stop being a Karen.
that's right.
And remember, we're not trying to tell you how to live.
But just how to live a little more simply, perhaps.
Could it be? All right, guys. We'll see you
Indeed.
next week. Take care. Have a good
Bye.
weekend. Oh, and Happy New Year, by the way.
Oh,
Happy New
yes. Happy New Year this weekend.
Bye. All right, we're done.